Hey everyone, it's project time. The question is which project? Not that one. That one was in the basement. It will be that one at some point. And I know we need to get over there to that kangaroo cabinet, which is really that Omni cabinet. We're working on Gyruss today, and I'm hoping that this is a quick fix. I've already got the marquee off. I have it. It's right there. Okay. And I picked this one up from a friend, and he said it's probably, a pretty solid cab. There is some a little bit of damage down at the bottom, but overall, this is pretty solid. But if you can see here, the top looks kind of worn. So we're actually going to go around to the other side real quick, and I'll show you the top of it. So here's the top of the cabinet. As you can see, it's seen water. It said water dripping on it. It's in pretty rough shape here. But the nice thing about these Century cabinets, or so I think, is that the whole top panel bolts on. And you can just cut a new one and replace it. So let's go inside and take a look. So we're in the back of the cabinet. If we look up, we've got some brackets here, and I've already started disassembling them. You can see that there's a bolt and holes there, and that's where you have some Phillips screws, wood screws going through. And once you take those out, so there's 4 wood screws on either side plus 2 nuts that you need to undo. And I think, let's see if we can get in there, we should be able to just take this all off. Now, I'm going to set up a tripod and we'll watch this happen or not. And don't forget to disconnect this connector here. That goes to the marquee light and the power switch, because this whole fixture is going to come off with it. So that's what we're going to do next. We're just going to hopefully lift this panel up without dropping it. Right? Sound like a good idea? Let's give it a whirl. With all those bolts loose, it should come off. Let's go undo it from the other side too. So here's the back. I'm lifting at it, and you can see there are some nails that do go through and attach to this piece here, which we might want to replace that as well. But as I push on it, you can see that this whole thing is just going to rip apart. But that's where it's being held in the back. So you may need to get a small hammer. But other than that, I think this thing's gonna rip right off and make a mess in here. We'll get the vacuum out afterwards. But yeah, we gotta take this off. This is in rough shape here. Look at that. Hello, fix me. All right, I'm gonna put this down and rip this out. So here's the piece we just ripped off. You can see that it's deteriorating here. The stuff is real soft. I am going to try to save what I can out of here just for measurements, and then this whole thing, it's going in the trash. It's waterlogged because we're going to need the vent on the other side. We're going to need these carriage bolts as well. And I do have another piece of wood that we're going to cut up. I got to take off the light. And then the other thing to note is that I think there's a slight bevel on there. and on the other side that we're going to try and match. We'll just put it on the table saw and try to match it as best we can. But we'll also have to put a hole there for the switch, which is in the light there. So we'll have to take that apart and disassemble it. Well, that's not a big deal. But there you go. Let's go take a look back at the cabinet. So here's the back of the cabinet. This is all that remains on here as far as what's attached. So we'll rip that off and clean that off as well. And we may make another one of these. I feel like this is kind of soft, but not that big of a deal. Something that's pretty easy to do. We just paint it black. But there we go. You can see how the brackets attach over there. Nothing was glued on, so if you're going to remove it, all you have to do is worry about the nails on this back piece. And that's actually a very nice thing about these Century cabinets. I will take it as far as a wood repair goes. All right, let's see if we can cut ourselves a new piece. So before we can go any further, we do need to remove this light fixture and get these bolts out. Just twist this to take that out. I don't think this bulb is working anyway, or at least the starter or ballast is also bad. Take off the really old tape. All right, that just pops off. And now we will need to, we got a couple bolts in here we need to unscrew. Oh, I can get that one with my finger. And now we have our light and our switch, which is right here. So there's our switch assembly. We will need that. So we're going to keep this whole thing. We'll clean this out. And yeah, we're getting there. So we'll have to make sure we put that hole there. Let's see if we can knock out these carriage bolts. The whole thing flexes. I'm gonna get a hammer. That one's good. There we go. Now we can just make a mess here. Pull out these bolts that we need. Paint these, save them. There we go. The other one is swollen so much. we go. As you can see, the structural integrity of this it's gone. All right, there we go. All 4 bolts. We just need to get our grate out. I might need to leave it on to hold it all together though. I'm actually going to leave it on for now until I can make my cuts. I know if I take this off, this thing is just going to crumble. I still need to get some measurements before I make my cuts. So I'm going to leave it on for now. I think this is the last structural piece that's holding it together. As you can see, when I push on it, this whole section in here moves. So we're going to leave it there for now. And I think we're about ready to get our other piece of wood and cut it. So here's the old piece. I've already got my other new piece rough cut to about the size I need, but I have a couple angled edges here, beveled edges, that we're going to need to match. So I'm just going to take my table saw blade and I'm going to turn it down here, and this is actually, it's about 15 degrees here. So we're going to go ahead and we'll cut that pass on our new piece, and then we'll come over and we'll do the other side as well, and we should be good to go. So I'm just going to use the old piece once I've got the angle set to make sure this is locked. Yeah, that's locked. Sometimes I feel like I forget to lock things, but I did it. Right? That's not moving. No, we're good. All right, it's locked, it's in place, but I'm going to use this old guide here to just match up the size that I need, and we should now be good to go. A little difficult because we're missing some chunks in there, but luckily the ends are okay. Let's go ahead and cut the last bevel, and then we can put our holes in and test fit our piece. Well, we'll test fit the piece and then put the holes on. So we've got our test piece, our new panel here. We're gonna go test fit it. We removed all the extra junk that was resting on top of that. All the nails I was able to pull out with my fingers. So we may end up building a new cross support to put in there. But first we're gonna put that other panel on top before we go ahead and do that. We'll test it and make sure that it works, and then we should be good. So let's go ahead and we'll try that. So I've labeled my inside here. So this is my front and my inside. Should just see if this fits in here. All right, let's that fits. It's not too wide, it's not too narrow because it matched the old one. The cabinet could afford to be squeezed together a little bit, but I think once we have this panel in here, it'll hold it together better as well. So you can feel the top. Starting to do that. Let's go around and check the front. Well, before we check the front, let's check the back. So the angle's a little off on this side, but it's not going to make that big a deal. And that could have just been because everything was swelling slightly, but it matches up here just fine. Let's go check the front. All right, so here is the front, and this actually looks better, probably because that was easier to match up. Yeah, I'll take that. That's pretty darn close. So that matches up very well. I'm happy with this. This is going to work, and you can see, yes, I labeled front and side. Now all I have to do is just mark my holes for this to get screwed on, then the hole for the light fixture and the switch, and we're good. I don't have a hole saw big enough, so we'll have to get a jigsaw out to cut out our circle. We may even just do a square because it'll be easier. But good enough anyway. All right, time to mark for more holes. So I'm happy with the hole locations. I'm gonna mark real quick where all my holes are, just so I can remember everything. Well, make it easier to drill. So you put those carriage bolts in. Probably should use a marker. But anyway, we'll go ahead and over to the front. There we go. Carriage bolt 1 is the one that really matters. All right. And now, measure for the other holes. So we're going to mark for the holes here. I couldn't get into these little holes, so I just used a can of spray paint to kind of make it, essentially making a stencil of it. We'll go ahead and take off this grate here, the vent grate. Definitely got to clean that and paint it. I'm sure if I pulled hard enough, this would just rip it right out. Oh gosh, look at that, it's horrible. Oh, look, we're just gonna take it. All right. Sure. Can I pull this off so I can get that circle there? Maybe. Sure. All right, there we go. We've got the rest of our circle here. Kind of. Sure, something kind of like that. All right, good enough. And we'll eyeball it with the saw. We just need to know that our vent is bigger than it. You know what? Maybe I can. Do you think these holes will? Just to give us a ballpark. Did that actually do anything? No, there's too much junk there. Oh well. Well, we're gonna toss that off to the side and watch it break into a bunch of pieces. But now we know where to put our circles. We've got our other holes marked. It's time to drill and get the jigsaw out. So for reference, these holes here that mount the fluorescent light fixture and switch, those worked out okay. This one, and we know where the hole is for the vent, and the other ones didn't go through, but I don't think those screws actually go all the way through anyway. So we're okay if we don't have those screws up there. That's just a wood screw that goes partially in. All right, time to cut some holes. So it's the next day, and where were you guys when I needed you? Because this is the first one, and I put the switch hole on the wrong side. Yep, it goes over on that side, not that side. So when I mounted it up there, I was like, oh look, the hole for the power switch is on the wrong side. But now, all we gotta do is just kind of paint the hardware, clean that up, and we're good to go. But yes, I made another one, and I found a hole saw, which was close enough. So that made it a lot easier to cut the switch for the power hole. So next up, we're just going to sand this with some high grit sandpaper, 220 or higher. Clean it up, wipe it off, and then paint it. And I know you guys know how to do that, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. That's not a hard task. We'll do that with the hardware too real quick. We'll just kind of give it a quick wipe with some sandpaper so the paint sticks, and then go ahead and quick coat of spray paint. We're good to go. So I'm going through and now putting in some pilot holes for the screws that go in on the underside, just so I'm not fighting it. I made my marks on this new piece. I can't believe I put the hole on the wrong side, but here we go. Remember, when you're drilling a pilot hole, you do not need to go the whole way. You're going just part way through. Let's see how deep we went. You can put a piece of tape there, but that's probably pretty good. And there you go. You just go through and you do that for all of them, and then you're not fighting that screw as you're trying to put it in upside down, and it won't split any of the wood and things like that. Now we can go ahead and put a light coat of black paint on the inside here, and then we'll flip it over and do the back, and etc., etc., etc. So here's the vent. I've already kind of painted a coat on the other side. I just use Rust-Oleum, nothing fancy here. Let's see, we'll zoom out so we can actually see it. There you go. That's what I use. Satin black is usually the color you want, especially for this stuff. Oh, I got enough paint to do the other side of the piece of wood. I just painted that. We'll take a look at that as soon as I put a coat of paint on here. I've sanded it. I cleaned it off with some alcohol, and it's as good as it's gonna be. I mean, you know, it is what it is. Oh, I got paint everywhere. Look at that. It's like leaking now or something. All right, hold on. Whatever. We got some paint on us. Wear gloves. We'll go around and paint it from the other side too, just to make sure that we get the insides. And that will probably be good enough for that. Normally I like to do a couple coats, but we might come back and put another one on at some point, but we'll let that dry. Let's go ahead and take a look at the other thing we painted. So here is the inside of the panel. I just put a quick coat of black paint on it. That's a little splotchy, but this is the inside. Really, this is just to kind of act as a vapor seal. I'll come up and maybe do another coat, but that gives you the idea. I just use the spray paint again. And then once this dries, we'll flip it over and paint the other side. Actually, we'll put the light on first and then paint. No, well, yeah, we have to put the light on, but we'll do that at the right time. It's actually really funny. If we come back and look at this, this is the old wood panel that was there. You can see the outlines for all the brackets. They painted the inside of the cabinet with that and the brackets in place. They did not paint everything individually, as you can see. And that was definitely a time and cost saving measure for sure. So we've finished painting the top part. Well, this is actually the bottom part, but actually I better check. With my luck, I'll mount it the wrong way. Now this is the right way. So anyway, we're gonna put that there because I just flipped it over. I'm painting the other side, and we're gonna go ahead and mount our light fixture back in. And this should be pretty quick and easy to do. Okay. We just have to put that metal cover back on. We'll tighten these up and flip it over and put the grate on. Of course, as I do this, it's starting to rain, so let's make this quick. We'll put our repainted grate here, and that looks pretty square. And we're gonna zip this in and be on our way as it starts to rain on this freshly painted wood. All right, quick, in before the rain. All right, I put the new one up. I've got the bolts going through. I have even put the screws, and that looks better already compared to the last one that was there. So you can look at the bolts going through. I've even put the screws in here, so I just need to put the nuts on. We're good to go. Of course, I do need to find the washers. They're down here in the dark. Not washer. Split washers. All right. Can I do this? I mean, you guys get the idea, right? One-handed, holding a camera. Go, go. There we go. So we'll go do that a bunch of times. Put that on nice and tight, and we're done with the top. Let's get the rest of this game cleaned up, and then we can move it in. So the next thing we need to do, we've got it all bolted in, is got to put a new bulb and starter in. So I just use the FS2 starters. They're like $2 for a 2-pack. At least they were. Who knows anymore? And if you can find those fluorescent bulbs, you're good. Oh. Nope. Should have done this when it was out. Then I could see it. Watching Tim struggle to put a starter in. There it is. Nope, that's not it. Something broke. Did I break it? Oh, come on. Really? This is like the longest endeavor ever to put a starter in. All right, this way. There we go. Jeez, what a pain in the neck that was. I hate these things. I really do. All right, I'm gonna do this off camera. Well, that was stupid. That took forever. All right, it just felt like it took forever because it's hot and humid here in the garage. Oh my gosh, it's so hot. Ta-da, all right, we're in. That took a minute. That took a solid 1 minute to do. Now, well, in my defense, there's still a pinball machine here in my way. We'll take care of that soon. All right, I think we're good. Probably fire it up, make sure the light works. But we replaced the starter and the light. The only other thing it could be is the ballast, which then means we need to take it all apart again. Well, at least the light fixture, but hopefully that's not the case.